Hi Booktube, my name is Juan. I am just one reader. I am here with a reading update video just to casually chat about some of the books that I've been reading lately, what I am enjoying right now, and what I want to read in January, the rest of January, and in February. So, in this video, I will not really talk in a lot of detail or with a lot of depth about these books just because I've made sort of a resolution for my channel for 2021. We'll see how it goes, but I would really like to review every single book that I read in what I am calling book reviews videos. So I have already posted the first book reviews video on my channel. I posted it last week, I believe. And in that video, you will see that I am reviewing or discussing in more depth the first 5 books that I read in 2021. So that's what I will try to do with every book that I read. I will try to make some batches of books and make them into book reviews videos so that you can watch them if you are interested on my thoughts with more detail. But just in case you're just here for a casual video, I will tell you about what I'm reading right now. Right now, I'm going to start with what I'm reading right now. Right now, I am reading East of Eden by John Steinbeck. This was a recommendation from Leo from A Little Book Life, although it's hard to say that this was just recommended by him. This is a book that I had always intended on reading. It's a book that many of the first booktubers that I watched when I first joined BookTube, and even before I joined BookTube, like Mercedes from Mercy's Bookish Musings, and some other booktubers that I really trusted and still enjoy their content, they loved East of Eden. So one day I just bought a copy, and I had this copy on my shelf right there for many years, and I never actually read it. And then last year, my friend Leo from the channel A Little Book Life recommended it to me, and he was reading it, and he really, really enjoyed it. So that just sort of, pushed me towards finally picking it up. I am like 130 pages into this 600-page book, and I am absolutely adoring this. It's just right up my alley. The writing style is very simple on the outside, like it might even feel just, like a very simple, it's not elaborate, it's not overly beautiful or pretentious. It just feels very straightforward, borderline simplistic, but there's so much complexity in the writing, and I'm loving the story. I am fascinated by the characters. It's a really over the top story, and I love those kinds of things. It's incredibly readable, almost compulsive. So I am really, really enjoying whenever I pick this book up. So that's what I'm reading right now. And now let me tell you about the books that I finished reading this week. The first one, and again, I will not be reviewing these books like with a lot of depth. I will just quickly talk about them. The first one was The Gustaf Sonata by Rose Tremaine, a very hyped book, especially in British BookTube, the British corner of BookTube. So this book follows two friends, two male friends who grew up in Switzerland. There's like a war backdrop to the story, but it really is a story, an intimate story of these characters. It's a portrayal of their friendship, but it's also a portrayal of the protagonist, whose name is Gustaf, his relationship with his mother. It's a book that I found quite successful in some places and in some areas, but also not very successful in some other areas. I will talk more about this when I actually review it. So yeah, I really liked the first half, or maybe the first 2/3. The final part of the book I felt was really the weak point, and that's, it just left a sort of weak impression in me. Almost disappointing, but it's not bad, but I also didn't find it really good. It was just like a good book. It was promising. There were some things that I really loved, but then the ending was just a little too. Yeah, it fell apart for me towards the end. Then I read a book that I really, really loved, and that was I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. I know that there's a new Netflix. Well, you can actually see it right here. This is so annoying. Like, this is not even a sticker. It's just printed in the cover, and I hate that they do that. But okay, marketing. So this has been recently adapted into a Netflix film, directed by the guy who directed Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, which I really enjoy. And I haven't seen the movie, of course, because I wanted to read the book first, and I really, really liked this book. It was very clever, it was very emotional, it was gripping. I read this in like two sittings. It was compulsively readable. If you are experiencing a reading slump or some kind of weird reading funk or just some reading block or whatever, or if you just want something like a palate cleanser, something refreshing and something that will just reboost your reading energy, I would strongly recommend this book. I'm Thinking of Ending Things. It's a psychological thriller. It is cerebral, but it's also very visceral, and it's very emotional, and it's one of those books that really wonderfully well creates a sense of atmosphere that you can feel physically in your body. You feel anguish and despair and confusion and disorientation. And it's really wonderful because Ian Reid uses very simple, stark, uh, sparse language, but it's so expertly crafted that you actually experience so much with so precise a language use, if you know what I mean. I don't think that sentence made a lot of sense. But if you know what I mean, he uses the basic building blocks of language and he really creates wonderful things with it. It's a very short novel, it's cerebral, it's shocking, it has a plot twist. I gave this book 4 stars. I could not give it 5 stars just because I predicted the ending. I don't think this book is predictable necessarily, but I was able to predict it at some point, like halfway through the novel, because, it's one of those instances where this book is very popular and people always tell you there's a twist. And that sort of spoiled it for me because I knew that there was a twist. And even though I didn't know what the twist was, I just kept looking for things. I kept thinking about, it was like I was reading, but I was also trying to figure out what the big plot twist was going to be. And then I sort of realized that this book was following a logic that is the logic of dreams. And I am a psychoanalyst. In case you didn't know, I am a psychoanalyst and a psychotherapist, but my primary way of working with patients is psychoanalytically. That means trying to interpret everything that happens with a patient within a session has to be interpreted as a dream. And, it's a very particular kind of skill set that is needed in order to become a psychoanalyst. You have to be able to think in what we call the primary process of thinking, which is very different to the way that we think in real normal life. And I realized reading this book that this book was written in that kind of logic, following the rules of that logic, of dream logic, of psychoanalysis logic. Therefore, I was able to start thinking of some theories and I predicted the ending, and that sort of took away from the surprise factor, but I still really enjoyed it, and I think it's a great book nonetheless. So there's that. Now, some of the books that I want to read in the upcoming weeks. First, I want to read Melmoth by Sarah Perry. Sarah Perry is the author of The Essex Serpent, which was really huge and popular here on BookTube. It was a book that I read in 2018, and or was it 19? I think it was 2018, and I really loved that book. I really loved everything about it, the gothic atmosphere, the writing style, so beautiful, the characters, the feel that it created within me. And so this is Sarah Perry's follow-up to The Essex Serpent. It has nothing to do with The Essex Serpent. It's not a sequel. It really has nothing to do with it except for the fact that it's also a gothic novel. But this one follows another kind of mythical, legendary figure called Melmoth the Wanderer. I've heard very mixed things about this particular novel. I've heard really wonderful praise, but I've also heard some people who loved The Essex Serpent complain about how this book is really disappointing. So I sort of want to make up my own mind and see what it is. Then I'm going to read Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, which is one of my favorite books. It's one of my favorite authors as well. It's a book that I have read previously only once, and it was a long time ago. I think I read this book in 2014 or maybe 2015, so it's been a while. And I remember that I really enjoyed it the first time around, but now I want to reread it. And the main reason for my reread is I am writing a psychoanalytical paper for one of my dissertations, a very important paper that I have to write. I have to choose a literary figure, a literary author, and one of their works, and then I have to write a psychoanalytical paper about that. So I chose Daphne du Maurier, so I will be choosing Rebecca, which is her most popular work. It's not my personal favorite, but I do think that there are important psychoanalytical elements in this novel and in the interaction of the characters. So I'm going to read this so that I can write my paper. And then, of course, the other book that I want to read is a biography of Daphne du Maurier, and this is a book that I ordered from like a second-hand bookshop through Amazon, and it was quite expensive, but and it also took a long time to get here, but I think it will be worth the wait. People say that this is a great biography and that it reads like a novel, it's actually very gripping and very entertaining as well. So this is Daphne du Maurier, The Secret Life of the Renowned Storyteller by Forster. Margaret Forster. So this is just a biography of Daphne du Maurier, and I will be taking a really close look into everything that happened in her life, especially her early life, so that I can sort of see some of the links that that inspired her or made her write something like Rebecca. So this is part of my psychoanalytical dissertation as well. Those are the books that I want to read in January and February. And again, if you're interested in some more in-depth book reviews from me, you can check those out in my new book reviews videos. Thanks for watching. I am Just One Reader, and I will see you on the next video.